So I do think we'll go ahead and get started. So last Thursday afternoon, USDA had a webinar for some additional guidance on a couple topics. And I believe, as I told you last week was our last call, that we were waiting on some guidance from USDA regarding the carryover PLE, severe need breakfast for next year, the additional 2 cents at lunch, and fresh fruit and vegetable. So we did get some additional guidance on carryover applications as well as PLE. So that's why we decided to have a call today. I wanted to do it yesterday, but I had literally, I think I had about 6 to 7 calls yesterday. So I wouldn't have had enough time to devote to it. And I also had sent USDA some questions regarding the additional guidance we got. And let me make sure my computer's up. Okay, so mine's up. I just want to make sure. Some people are having a hard time hearing in the chat is what I'm seeing, but mine's as loud as it'll go. So I did get some clarification yesterday on our questions we had regarding what I'm going to discuss with you this morning. I did send them something back in response because I kind of questioned it, but I have not heard back as of just now. So, okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. And again, today we're just going to cover the new information that we received late last week, last Thursday afternoon. So in regards to carryover, they, as I told you a couple weeks ago, they allowed the states to have, to do some state waivers because USDA doesn't have the authority to extend any waivers. Congress has not given them that authority, and it doesn't look like they're going to. So they found a way for states to issue some waivers on certain topics and issues that pertain to this. And the, like I said, 2 weeks ago, there were 24 that we could apply for. And I did apply for multiple of those, end up being like 22. I don't have approval yet, so I can't tell you they're there, but because they're effective the day that USDA approves them. But the 2 additional ones that I added to the ones I was already asking for based on last week were this one is carryover applications in school year 22-23. And this, basically, I just took USDA's slide and made it my slide. And so this is exactly what that we were told. This carryover state waiver ability is only available for schools that operated SSO in school year 21-22. And in Oklahoma, we had all schools operating SSO. So this state waiver, once it's approved by USDA, will apply to everyone. It will waive the requirement for carryover to be based on eligibility from the preceding year. So as you know, if we were operating normal national school lunch, school breakfast, you're allowed to carry over a student's free and reduced status for 30 days into the new school year unless you get a new application, and then that takes precedence. So in that second bullet, what that's saying is typically you can use, for the coming school year, which would be 22-23, you're allowed to use the 21-22 free and reduced status on a child for the first 30 days of the next school year. But because of the way they being USDA has allowed you to operate, they are allowing you, and this is what this last bullet says, instead schools may use the most recent available eligibility data, including data from school year 19-20 for the 30-day carryover in school year 22-23. Now, once that waiver is approved, you will have that ability to do that. And we have some time. You're not, I mean, while you're concerned about carryover, it's not an immediate that you have to do it right this second. So we should have the approval to do that. It should not take that long, honestly. They may come back to me, they being USDA, may come back to me with questions, and I'll get those clarified. And as soon as I get that approval for this specific state waiver, the carryover, we will send something out through CARS so that you'll know. So, you know, look for that. You can reach out to us, but I would give it at least 2 weeks at a minimum, and I'm thinking potentially 3. So that's, you know, that's getting us into mid-June at that point, probably. But if you have the ability to enter their lunch status for school year 19-20, you can use that eligibility for the first 30 days of the upcoming school year 22-23. Now, everybody out there, most everybody out there, some have the same, but have different point of sale systems or child nutrition systems. And what I've heard from a couple people, and even after talking to a couple of my staff that used to be food service directors, they said that you might have to do that manually, but maybe not. I don't know. So you need to get with your IT department and or your company that operates your point of sale system and see what you're able to do. And the reason you're able to do this is, I believe on the last call I mentioned the most recent available eligibility data. So what USDA is making the assumption of is, because of the way you operated in school year 21-22, which is the year that's just ending, you may or may not have gotten all of the free and reduced applications you would normally get in a non-COVID operating time. And so because of that, they're stating they feel that your 19-20 is really your most recent available eligibility data you may have, because you've been feeding free for 2 years, all students. Now, keep in mind, because you've been feeding free for 2 years, that is not the student's lunch status. So you can't just roll everybody over as free. I've had several districts ask me about that, and that's not an option. Their lunch status is based on an application or direct cert, foster, that type. So keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to go to the chat before we go to another slide. I normally don't do this, but I'd like to get the questions for this topic answered the best I can with the guidance that I have. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so can we start putting the information in now to be ready for next year? I feel that you'll be able to. I do feel that this state waiver will be approved. That I might have to have some clarifying questions for you, or USDA may ask me to clarify some questions, but I do think that that would be acceptable. If we collected applications in 21-22 school year, what do we use, 19-20 or our current applications? USDA stating that you can go back to 19-20 because they feel that is the most recent available eligibility data you have, because you've been feeding free for 2 years. And I know, and you all know this, that you had a hard time collecting free and reduced applications in many instances last year. That's why they're saying you can do that. Now, obviously, you can't carry over any students that are gone, that have graduated over the last 2 years. And then any new students, so any maybe pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, just new students in general, they would need an application. They probably wouldn't have had one in 19-20. Obviously, if they didn't attend your district in 19-20, they're not going to have one. And depending on where they were in their starting of school grade-wise, they may or may not have one. So you would need one for those if you don't have one. So if there wasn't one for one of those types of students in 19-20, but you did happen to get one for one of them in 21-22, you can use that as their carryover status. Okay, let me scroll back up. Okay, got that. If we took, it says LR, I think you meant FR, free reduced applications this year. Can we still use the 30-day carryover free since they operated under SSO? No, again, I know that you fed students for free the last 2 years, but that was not their lunch status. You may not carry over all your students as free because you've been feeding them free. That is not their lunch status. So USDA has made that very clear. Okay. Is the carryover only for those who filled out an application, or does it apply for those who did not as well to do SSO free meals for all? Again, you cannot carry over their free lunch status just because you fed free. That was not their lunch status. Okay, we collected applications in 21-22. So even though they were all free, they each have different pay statuses. Oh gosh. Sorry, it jumped on me. And I tried that trick. Somebody told me in the chat, but okay. So if you collected free lunch applications in 21-22, you can use that eligibility to carry over into 22-23 if you want. But USDA is allowing the flexibility to go back to 19-20 because they consider that, again, the most recent available eligibility data you may have because you've been feeding free for 2 years. So if you're able to do the 19-20, and that is a better reflection of the actual student status because you had applications and you had more of them on more students than you may have gotten in 21-22, you can use that 19-20. Okay, can we combine the statuses from the 2 years and get the most free? Yes, you're allowed to use the most advantageous. That was what clarifying question I asked USDA. And again, but it has to be based on a free and reduced application or direct certification. Just FYI, it cannot be because you fed free. You just can't roll them over because you fed free as a free lunch status. That doesn't work. Yes, the new application will be available just before July. If you mean the free and reduced application for the coming school year 22-23, yes. We're just holding off a little bit longer to put that out because what we don't want to happen is we don't want anybody collecting the coming school year 22-23 free and reduced application before July 1 because they cannot be effective. You can't get them early. They're effective July 1. Let's see. And some people have been taking applications. I've heard from several districts that have had very good luck getting free and reduced lunch applications throughout this entire process. So if you feel your 21-22 applications are the better status-wise for the kids than your 19-20, you can use 21-22. Can you use more than student status 19-20 but due to reasons out of control the status changed? Can you use more than 19-20 applications? What if a student status was full in 19-20 but due to reasons out of control during the COVID status? Yeah, if they were, oh, you're saying 2021. I don't know that I asked her that. Let me peek at my little notes here. Sorry. She doesn't say anything about 2021. She's only talking 19-20 versus 21-22. At this point, I'm going to answer, Rebecca, yours as a no, but I'm going to ask for more clarification. Now, keep in mind, some of you also may have been collecting applications because of PEBT, because again, PEBT is based on free and reduced lunch applications, not how USDA allowed the feeding of free for everyone. No. A Contreras, no, not everyone is going to be free next year. No, you will have reduced and paid kids. We are going back to what I call normal NSLP. You need to collect free and reduced lunch applications for the coming school year. Okay, so Pam, if a child was free or reduced in 19-20, but denied due to income in 21-22, we wouldn't use the 19-20 carryover because we got a more recent application, correct? Well, based on what USDA is telling me, you're allowed to use 19-20. I asked that. This really doesn't do anything with CEP. CEP won't change. It's based on direct certification, and they are not offering any flexibilities for CEP. So CEP will stay the way it is. You needed to have pulled your direct cert in April and an enrollment list for the same time so that we can look at that. Your child nutrition, regional child nutrition specialist can look at that information and see if you're eligible for CEP and what your percentage would be. If you're on CEP, nothing changes with CEP. You're not taking applications on CEP. So if you're still eligible for CEP, you still have additional years on your CEP, you're able to stay on CEP if you choose to do so. And I would assume that anybody that's able to stay on it would. Sorry. Okay, we are going off of CEP. Will all of our students carryover be free for 30 days? Yes, or until you receive an application. So if you're having to come off CEP, your students will be free for 30 days. That's a state decision that we can make, and it's in the CEP guidance. But if you get an application before that 30th day and the application shows them reduced or paid, you must switch them to reduced or paid based on the application. The application takes precedence. Okay, we collected a few apps this year, and that made statuses different than SSO free. Can we use those? So in that case, you would want to go ahead and use your 1920 because it's probably in some cases, probably more advantageous to use their 1920 status, lunch status to carry over for this school year. If your school is a provision for this year, I'm pretty sure you probably operate this year, meaning if you operate, you probably in school year, I'm kind of going in circles here, sorry. If you operated in the school year that just ended, 21-22, you would have operated as under SSO and everybody was free. But if you still have years left in your provision 2, 3, or CEP, that's what you'll go to for next school year. Sorry, it jumped on me again. Let's see, can we just pull the most recent full paid roster and compare their 20 pay status and use those? We had a lot of free students who didn't turn in a lunch app, so they were automatically moved to full. Again, if you had a free and reduced lunch application for any students in 1920, that can be the carryover for the coming school year, 22-23. We've been CEP for 8 years, but may not be in 22-23. Sorry, I do not have any reduced because reduced is a number. Laura, have you looked? We might need to have it, Laura. We might need to have a conversation about that off this, just because there's going to be some specifics just to your district that we need to work through. I would have you reach out to Nikki Assad in our office, and we can go from there. Can we use 1920 and add those that are new to the district in 21? Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, well, and you would want, if you have a more current application, well, for any students that were brand new or didn't attend your district in 1920, and you got one in 21-22, that would be what you would use for them, is the 21-22, yes. If we do the free and reduced apps like normal, I just continue how I've been doing, correct. Yeah, you'll want to collect free and reduced. You've got to collect, you'll have to collect free and reduced applications for this coming school year. You cannot start collecting those until July 1 or after. And that we will be getting that out on cars in probably the next 3 to 4 weeks, because you cannot collect free and reduced applications before July 1 for the coming school year. Yes, can we combine? Yeah, if there's a status on a student in 1920 and they were free, and they did one in 21-22 and it was reduced or paid, you can use the free 1920 status for that kiddo student. We took applications this year. If I understand correctly, we can take a list for 1920. Yes. Yes, that is correct, Renita. There's Nikki's information in the chat. If we are provision 2 in 1920 but lost it when the formula changed, can we do? I'm going to need to check on that. It's very clear in the CEP. This is for Jennifer Purvis. It is very clear in the CEP guidance that we can do that. I'm going to double check on the provision, and because when I said that a minute ago, I knew that was going to be a question. So Jennifer, we're going to check on that and see. because it is very clear in the CEP guidance that that's allowed, but it's not ringing a bell for the provision. So Jennifer, if you could put in the chat and remind me of what district you're with. I'm just drawing a blank. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. Can we use the 21-22 applications that we collected this year? Yes, 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 yes. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. And if you had better luck and you think, yes, I would agree with that. And yes, you can. Provision is you've got your base year plus 3 years, and then CEP, you've got your 4 years, and you can have a grace year for a 5th year if you meet the eligibility for a grace year. Oilton, thank you, Jennifer. Krista, can we collect applications before July 1? Yeah, I understand there's going to be a printing issue, and that's why we are going to get that out before. And I understand printing, we have to deal with printing in this office too, so I get that. But yeah, but yes, you again, and you state that in your question, Krista, you can't collect them before July 1, but yeah, we do plan on getting it posted before in the next just week or couple weeks. And I understand you've got to print. And from what we can tell, and I'm going to double check on this, but as of right now, we haven't heard that there's going to be any changes to the prototype except for the year. But that is a question that I have to them to see and make sure that nothing's changing on that. I really don't think it's going to. Let's see. Okay, I think it jumped. Okay, Walton. If your SSO may use either. You can use the 1920, or some people think that they might have a better results if they use this school year. You can use this school year. They've said nothing about school year 2021, nothing. It's 1920 or current. Due to dismissals for COVID, most of our eligibilities last printed was February of 20. Which February of 20 would have been the 1920 school year. So you should be okay. That is correct, Krista. The year that's most advantageous to the child. That is correct. Okay, so we've gotten through all the carryover questions. I can answer more later, but we're going to move on to the next slide, which would be, I believe, is the PLE requirement. Okay, so over the last multiple calls we've had, because we had no guidance, we went ahead and told you to plan on, which you do have to charge your paid students. That hasn't changed, but we did recommend that you go up minimum of 5 cents to 10 cents, because that's just what the guidance we had. And so now that we do have a little bit more clarification, and the state waiver that I have applied for will be that typically SFAs are required to meet the PLE requirements. And you know that because prior to COVID, we did it every year. So USDA is allowing for school year 22-23, only SFAs with a negative balance in the nonprofit school food service account as of December 31st of 21 to meet the PLE requirements. So for school year 22-23, states may request to waive the requirements for any SFA to raise their paid lunch prices in accordance with the PLE requirement. And this is to help schools and families transition back to the pricing of paid meals. So if you had a negative balance on December 31st of 21, you still need to go up. Again, they're not telling you how much, but they're recommending 5 to 10 cents. That was another question I asked USDA in an email regarding the webinar, and they are recommending the 5 to 10 cents. If you had a positive balance in your lunch account on December 31st of 21, you do not need to go up, and you can just continue to charge what you were charging the last time you had kids pay for meals, which was in 1920 school year, and that is acceptable. Okay, anything on that? I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but if you have questions, let us know. Okay. And I honestly, Kendra, I can't even remember. Okay. So there is going to be some flexibility that we can offer next year. And we're supposed to be getting a little more guidance on this. So I can't go into it too much. But as you know, this year, about a month ago, you were getting letters about your 3-month operating balance because you had a carryover from the previous year, because we always look at that the following year because we don't have the report from OCAS to be able to verify that. So from what my understanding is for next school year, April timeframe, when we normally pull the 3-month operating information, we're going to have some flexibility for that. We could increase it, but we are waiting on a little additional guidance. So just know that we are working on that, and we will be looking into that to help you all if that's what we've got to do. But again, I wanted to make you aware of that. I know some of you have outlandish balances potentially. You might still consider spending that down as much as, some, because while we will have some flexibility, I don't feel that we can waive it fully. But more to come on that. I just wanted you to be aware, because they made us aware of that. And the next one, they are still going to give guidance for severe need breakfast, because as you know, severe need breakfast is based on it's additional money at breakfast based on the prior 2 years. So my gut tells me what I think they're going to do, but I'm not going to go there, because as soon as I say that, I'm going to be wrong, and I don't want to give you all any wrong information. Fresh fruit and vegetable information, and then additional 2 cents. Some of you get additional 2 cents at lunch because of your free and reduced numbers. And again, they haven't given us guidance on that. So we're still waiting on guidance for 3 things at least that they are telling us is still coming. So I just wanted you to know that. And then the next slide, please. I want to just reiterate again, this happens every year. That's why I keep harping on it. I didn't take this slide out from earlier in the week or last week. CACFP, if you operate the CACFP at risk, which is often called the supper meal or the third meal, that must stop on your last day of school. No questions. Nothing's being extended this year for that. And many calls have been coming in because some of you have already stopped or ended school for the year and you want to submit a May claim for CACFP. Our CACFP system does not allow a claim for that month to go in until the first day of the next month. So if you're done and you want to do a May claim, you can't do that till June 1st. That system had to be set up that way for a multitude of reasons. And so that's why, unlike NSLP, where you can, be done on the 15th of May and put a claim in on the 16th. Can't do that for CACFP, so you have to wait until June 1. Okay, next slide, please. Again, I want to reiterate, these are 3 state waivers that cannot be requested items. I cannot. USDA does not allow it, and they reiterated that on their webinar the other day. And they are the nutritional content of the meals, which would be the meal patterns, the reimbursement rates, can't do anything about those, and the provisions for free and reduced meals. I can't change that. Like, you don't have to get apps. That I can't. Yes, you do have to get applications this year. That can't be changed. Okay, and just wanted to reiterate, we have some upcoming calls. We sent out through CARS yesterday registration for ABVM and cafeteria staff workshops. How to register for those. Those are in person this year. We have a food buying guide training this afternoon for anybody that needs a refresher on that. And then right now we have a school call tentatively scheduled for August 8th. And we might end up doing one based on the reply in the last call we had that you all would like to have one in July. So we are looking at dates for that still. Okay, and then again, our Cooking for Kids summer trainings are still going on, and there's some open enrollment. So I wanted to make you all aware of that. If you do the basic culinary skill development training, that does allow you to have a one-on-one chef consult in your district for the next school year for help with all different kinds of things, and they do a great job. I'm going to go back to the chat. I had some things pop up. When it says request, no, if you had a positive balance on December 31st, you do not have to go up on your paid lunch prices. Is USDA considering a drastic increase in the price? Meaning, I'm assuming, what is it? 30 days? They do?
Mhm.
Okay, I'll get to that. Thanks. Go ahead and leave it for me. Thanks.
Yeah. You got it.
Okay. As far as reimbursement rates, there's a formula that USDA uses for that. And it's based on other government entities that they take into account for that. And so we will not know. They're saying the rates should be out the very first part of July. They always come out in July. They have always gone up an average of 9 to 11 cents at lunch. So I do expect them to continue to go up like they normally do. Will it be drastic increase? I cannot answer that. But as soon as we have the rates, we will get them out to you all and get our systems updated. You can still continue to collect unpaid lunch bills. I know that is always an issue and continues and will continue into this year. I mean, you've fed them free based on the flexibilities for 2 years. So this year they are having to pay. So that's going to be a problem. But you can continue to collect prior year's lunch debts for as long as you would like. There's information on that in the child nutrition manual that we have that addresses that. No, the cafeteria managers, which this year's being called cafeteria staff, is in person. We are, okay, so make sure you heard me correct. You're wanting to make sure you heard me correct. We are waiting on information for 3-month carryover balance. Not for this year. This will apply for next school year is what we're waiting on. You can use some of that money. You mentioned in your question, Danielle, that you're getting a new school. You can use some of that money for equipment. If you aren't going to need it for another year for equipment, we can work with you on that, a spend down plan. Okay, and someone did just bring, Kendra, sorry, just brought me in something. She looked it up while we were online regarding for provisions returning to standard procedures, meaning free, reduced, and paid. You do have the 30 days. Let's see, I believe this guidance is on our website under CARS under provision, and it's page 42. Should a school decide, I don't like reading to you, but I'm going to because I don't have this committed to memory. Should a school decide to return to standard counting and claiming procedures during a non-base year provision 2 cycle, school officials must notify the public that the school is returning to that standard practice. At that time, school officials would send out the letter to household and free and reduced application and conduct direct certification. The children must continue receiving free meals at no charge for a reasonable period of time, and their reasonable definition of that is at least 30 operating days. So from the time you start school, during which time the school may continue to use the provision 2 claiming percentage. At that time, the school may begin charging for meals and claiming reimbursement based on eligibility as determined by new applications submitted by the household. So that is in this guidance. So thank you for bringing me that, Kendra. I kind of thought that was the case, but I didn't want to give you any incorrect information. Okay, a couple more questions. I'm about joined a meeting late as SCA fund's been addressed. No, but we did pay, again, we have 30, I think we counted, Laura and I counted yesterday with 38 districts that have not returned their attestation statement, and we're getting ready to hit the phones hard with that. We got to have those back so we can pay out the rest of the SCA, and any that declined, we have a reallocated amount that will be going back to you. So we talked yesterday that we are going to make phone calls for those. We're going to break them up, give everybody a certain number and call to get that. We've got to have an attestation statement back that says, yes, I want it, or no, I don't. Okay, regarding reimbursement rates, when I figured reimbursement based on 1920 rates compared to summer food reimbursement, 2 million less. Yeah. Now keep in mind that we have had NSLP rates all along. They have gone up every year. They went up for 2021 and they went up for 22-23. So they will, my understanding is they will figure the NSLP rate based on what they were last year, because nationwide, just because Oklahoma, all schools did SSO last year, nationwide, there are many schools that did do normal NSLP last year and not serve everyone free. Lots of schools in Texas did it, and I know that because Texas is in our region, and we heard her talk about that on many calls. So there are actual reimbursement rates for the 21-22 school year. Yeah. Well, they're yeah, we can. I mean, yeah, we did go out with those last year. The regular free was $3.66. If you received the additional 2 cents, it was $2.68. Reduced was $3.26. If you received the additional 2 cents, it was $3.28. Yeah, they're in the manual. Thank you, Dana. They should be in the manual. Oh, they're in the updated manual online under the compliance section. They are there because we print, when we first put it out. So if you printed a book when we first put it out in July, it will say, it may say updating when the rates come out, but once the rates come out, we do update the manual. And then full was 35 cents. And if you get the 2 additional cents at lunch, it's 37. Regular breakfast free was $1.97. Reduced was $1.67. And full was 33 cents. If you receive severe need breakfast, because 40% of your lunches were free or reduced in 1920, your severe need breakfast is $2.35. That would be the free. Reduced is $2.05, and full was 33 cents. So, but they are in online in the training manual, child nutrition manual, in the beginning of the compliance section. So, yeah, yep, we'll have the new manual out in July. We're working on it right now, finishing it up so that we can get it done. Yes. Also in claims, the rates are in claims. Okay, one other thing that I don't have a slide on, but I want to mention, we are going to be sending out what we're calling an SSO questionnaire. Could be it's more of a questionnaire than a checklist, and that's going to go out through CARS, and then we're going to have you all return it. If you're, we'd really like everyone to return it, because if you're operating SSO after your last day of school, we've got some questions because we're going to have to track that, obviously, because it's part of a waiver. So that will be going out. So look for that. That's going to go out today. So be looking for that. And it is, we've titled it an SSO questionnaire. If you're not operating after your school year ends, there's a box you can check and you just submit it back to us. Sign it off and submit it back to us. Okay. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Because that's all I have right now. I hope this helped. Again, we are considering a July call. I just don't have a date right now because we've got the holiday in there, the beginning, so we'd have to maybe push it back a little bit. So we're here if you have questions. You can reach out to us. You can always reach out to your regional child nutrition regional program specialist in the field. I hope that you guys have a great summer because we won't talk for a little bit. If you are going to do SSO, remember after the end of your school year and you want to use those waiver flexibilities, you do have to be 50% free and reduced by site or have census data available to do that. So, okay, I don't see anything else coming up in the chat. A lot of thank yous, and we thank you as well. Yep, the School Nutrition Association of Oklahoma conference is in June. Just a reminder. Somebody put that in the chat. Okay. All right, I don't see anything else popping up. You guys have a great day, great rest of your week. And have a great summer. And we will have a call in July, so if you're able to check your CARS application or CARS email and all that, be on the lookout for that. Okay. Thank you so much. Somebody said they're retiring. Good luck to you. I don't have a name, but good luck to you. And thank you for all you did during this time. All right. Okay, I'm getting off. Everybody, I was just checking the chat. I want to make sure I got everything, and I think we're good. All right. Everybody have a great rest of your week and a great summer, and we'll be talking soon. If something wants to come out, we'll be in touch. And again, we'll send stuff out through cars. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.